In the imminent future, a nuclear catastrophe known as the flash triggers an ecocide, resulting in the extensive devastation of the environment. The USA has now transformed into a post-apocalyptic desolation where individuals must resort to extreme measures to endure. 30 years after the flash, within a forest filled with ash, a cat approaches a decaying corpse to scavenge, while nearby, Eli stands poised with an arrow readied. The moment he hears the cat meow, he fires and swiftly takes it down. After retrieving the cat, Eli continues his journey, only pausing to rummage through cars for anything of value aside from bones. Eventually, he stumbles upon an uninhabited house, and as he explores the various rooms, he attempts to fill his canteen, but the faucets are inoperable. Upon opening a closet, the repulsive odor immediately alerts him to a hanging corpse, yet that doesn't deter him from searching it for anything of worth. Subsequently, Eli cooks the cat while tending to his weapons and listening to his vintage iPod. The aroma of roasted flesh catches the attention of a rat, which Eli notices upon hearing it squeak, and he graciously shares some cat meat with it. After freshening up with wet wipes, Eli spends the night in the house, immersed in his book and resting. The following morning, he finds his iPod nearly out of battery and the car battery rig he uses to recharge it is on the brink of depletion as well. For the time being, he persists in his travels, and while on the road, he encounters a woman with a broken shopping cart pleading for aid. At that moment, he picks up a dreadful scent and alerts the nearby thugs, realizing it's merely a setup. The gang emerges, and the leader begins to shove Eli around to rob him, but unexpectedly, Eli severs the leader's hand with his machete. He subsequently battles the remaining gang members simultaneously, swiftly dispatching them in mere moments without sustaining a single injury. It's almost as if Eli were shielded by divine intervention. Thereafter, Eli eliminates the leader as well, but spares the woman's life. She possesses a bottle of water, but upon sniffing it, he discerns it's foul and discards it. After inspecting all the bodies for any usable items, he resumes his journey, listening to his tunes until his iPod runs out of juice. As he ambles near a ravaged highway, he overhears a group of bikers assaulting a couple. Eli feels a pang of guilt but reminds himself to refrain from engaging, as the gang murders the man, exploits the woman, and absconds with all their books. Once the bikers depart, Eli emerges from his concealment and continues until he discovers a town where he enters the shop of the engineer, who promptly threatens him with a firearm. As soon as Eli perceives this, he seizes the weapon to demonstrate his superiority and quickly returns it, clarifying that he is merely a patron. He then requests the engineer to recharge his battery rig, offering wet wipes and a lighter as currency. While the engineer works, Eli crosses the street to the bar, where the murderous bikers are congregating with Carnegie, the warlord governing this town. Carnegie seeks a particular book, prompting all his henchmen to bring forth any books they can scavenge, despite their inability to read the titles due to illiteracy. He inspects the assortment of books presented today, but when he doesn't find what he desires, he orders them to be incinerated. His spirits lift when gang leader Redridge announces he's also uncovered a small sample of shampoo, prompting Carnegie to rush and use it on his concubine Claudia, who is blind, thus immensely enjoying the fragrance and the head massage. Downstairs, Eli pays with gloves and a scarf to refill his canteen. While retrieving his belongings, he inadvertently brushes against a cat, causing it to hiss at him. The bartender hands the canteen to Claudia's daughter Solara, who ventures out back to fill it. Redridge attempts to obstruct her path, showcasing his interest, but she disregards him and joins the queue for water. Inside, a gang member becomes irate because Eli touched his cat and tries to instigate a brawl, but Eli simply slams his face against the bar and attempts to exit. At that moment, the rest of the gang launches an assault on him, leaving Eli no option but to engage. With rapid swings of his machete, Eli takes on all the thugs simultaneously, eliminating them one by one without breaking a sweat. Soon, every last thug lies dead except for one. Just as he's about to end Eli's life, Solara appears again and pleads for him to pause. This interruption leads to Eli being captured and brought to Carnegie, who proposes that Eli join his ranks. Eli is uninterested and attempts to flee once more, but Carnegie insists he spends the night. Later, Claudia visits Eli with food, and he quickly realizes she's blind, so he inquires about her background. Subsequently, Carnegie sends Solara to Eli's quarters to persuade him to stay by becoming intimate with him, but Eli refuses her advances. He tries to evict her, but Solara reveals that Carnegie will harm Claudia if she doesn't comply, prompting Eli to allow her to remain for the night. As Solara seldom interacts with individuals of Eli's age, she poses questions about life prior to the Flash, and Eli recounts tales of that era. Solara discovers Eli's book and lights up with enthusiasm, asking about its content since she cannot read, but Eli swiftly conceals it, unwilling to discuss it. When he finally sits down to eat, he shares the meal with Solara and teaches her to say grace. The following morning, Solara breakfasts with Claudia and recites the words Eli taught her. Carnegie is stunned to overhear this and demands to know how Solara acquired the knowledge, hurting Claudia when Solara remains tight-lipped. Eager to protect her mother, Solara divulges that Eli possesses a book marked with a strange symbol, crossing her fingers to signify a cross. It is revealed that Carnegie seeks a Bible, and Eli holds the only remaining copy in the world, as all others were burned shortly after the Flash. Elated, he instructs Redridge to retrieve Eli's book, but upon entering the room, they discover Eli has vanished. Redridge promptly executes the guard for their blunder and dispatches his men to find Eli. Meanwhile, Eli secures his battery from the engineer and attempts to exit the town, only for Carnegie to confront him and request the book. Believing the Bible to be the key to controlling society, he is prepared to kill Eli for it, yet Eli continues to walk away. Suddenly, Redridge fires at Eli twice, missing both times. Frustrated, Eli draws his weapon and begins shooting at anyone he hears moving, hitting every target skillfully, while enemy bullets consistently miss him. Once he runs out of bullets, he resorts to a shotgun, continuing to eliminate thugs, injuring Carnegie in the leg in the process. Realizing Eli possesses divine protection, Redridge allows him to leave, at least for the time being. After Carnegie receives medical attention for his leg, he attempts to send the gang after Eli. However, Redridge, having lost numerous men, strikes a deal. He will obtain the book if Carnegie permits him to take Solara as his concubine. Moments later, Eli hears Solara trailing behind him. She explains that Claudia sent her to ensure her safety, but Eli tries to send her away. Undeterred, Solara proposes to guide him to the town's water source, which turns out to be a pristine underground spring. Eli eagerly fills his canteen, but then deceives Solara and locks her inside the cave so he can forge ahead alone. Soon, Solara finds a way to escape and attempts to pursue Eli, only to come across a woman with a broken cart instead. Solara tries to assist her, but the woman insists she should leave, not wanting an innocent girl to fall into danger. Out of nowhere, two thugs assault Solara. After striking her a few times, they drag her to a secluded area to exploit her. Her screams lead Eli to her rescue, and he fires an arrow, hitting one thug in the groin and the other in the throat. Solara expresses her gratitude to Eli with a hug, and they depart together. Later, Carnegie and Redridge discover the bodies thanks to the birds circling above. They also recover a piece of Solara's clothing, pinpointing their pursuit's direction. On the road, Eli hears a bird and uses an arrow to bring it down. As he picks it up, he asks Solara to take the wire from his bow. When night falls, Eli and Solara decide to rest within an old cooling tower. Solara requests Eli to read to her, prompting him to share a few lines before setting the book aside. Eli also reveals that when he discovered the Bible, a voice guided him about where to safeguard the book and assured him of his protection. Solara then requests that he instruct her on reading, but he remains silent. So Solara decides to wait until he dozes off to sneak the book. Just as she unzips the bag, Eli stirs awake and orders her to step back. The following day, the duo continues their journey until they stumble upon a house marked with a no trespassing sign, which they overlook as they head for the entrance. Suddenly, a trapdoor swings open beneath them, and they tumble into a pit just as the door swings open to disclose Martha and George, an armed elderly couple who have resided there since before the Flash. They question why the sign was ignored, and when Eli responds politely, they choose to invite them in. Initially, the conversation flows smoothly, and they enjoy some delightful tea, but things take a turn when the couple shows them their backyard, where they store the bodies of previous attackers. Eli warns Solara that they should leave because the couple are cannibals, keeping his gun at the ready to deter them from obstructing their escape. However, as they attempt to exit, Carnegie and his gang pull up in cars. Eli and Solara retreat inside, where George unveils an extensive array of weapons concealed within the sofa. Using a megaphone, Carnegie commands Eli to hand over Solara with the book to avert conflict. A package is tossed out of the window and Redridge dives to catch it, but instead of the Bible, he discovers a bomb. He quickly retreats just before it detonates, obliterating two cars and taking out several henchmen. Carnegie's crew swiftly opens fire on the house, prompting Eli to retaliate with a grenade. An irate Redridge responds by firing a missile, demolishing half the house and killing Martha. Seething, George begins shooting wildly, taking down as many thugs as he can until the enemy deploys a Gatling gun to eliminate him and force the others to surrender. Soon, Eli and Solara find themselves encircled and pulled from the house. Carnegie threatens Solara's life, leaving Eli no option but to reveal that he stashed the book in the TV. Redridge retrieves the book and hands it to Carnegie, who then releases Solara and shoots Eli in the stomach. Eli attempts to rise with a dagger but is kicked down by Carnegie, who departs with his men while taking Solara with him. Inside one of the vans, Redridge places Eli's machete on the dashboard. Meanwhile, Solara extracts the wire from Eli's bow to strangle the driver, causing the van to flip several times until it comes to a halt. As other vehicles circle back to investigate, Solara hops into the driver's seat and discovers a grenade, which she hurls at the other cars, blowing one up. Then, she shifts to the driver's seat only to find Redridge impaled by Eli's machete. He is still breathing and manages to pull out the machete, but as he exits the van, he succumbs to his injuries. Afterward, Solara speeds away, while Carnegie opts not to chase her in the last car since he has already secured the book. When Solara reaches the house, in her search for Eli, she drives on until she spots him on the road, still striving for his goal. Without hesitation, she assists him into the van, where he uses duct tape to tend to his injury. After several hours on the road, they arrive at the Golden Gate Bridge, only to find it in ruins and impassable. Eli asserts they are near, prompting them to seek out a rowboat to reach Alcatraz Island. When Eli grows too fatigued to continue rowing, Solara takes over for him. Meanwhile, back in town, Carnegie struggles to open the book, thwarted by its formidable lock. Excited, he enlists the engineer to pry it open, eager to discover its contents, only to find it written in Braille. It becomes clear that Eli has been blind all along. His reactions stem solely from senses of hearing, smell, or touch. In a state of desperation, Carnegie implores Claudia to read the book for him. Claudia appears thrilled to engage with Braille once more but deceives him, claiming she has lost the ability. She also remarks that she can sense the infection in his wounded leg, suggesting it will cause him to lose respect. When Carnegie surveys the bar, he sees locals ransacking it and his men bickering among themselves, leading him to crumble in despair. Over in Alcatraz, an armed guard greets the pair. Eli persuades him to allow their passage by offering up the Bible. They encounter a curator dedicated to preserving humanity's artistic legacy from before the Flash, harboring hopes of future reconstruction. Lacking a Bible, Eli unveils that he has committed it to memory and begins to dictate it for the curator's own reproduction. The endeavor consumes much time, and during the process, Eli pauses to shave and don fresh clothing. After significant effort, the new Bible is finally finished, and Eli succumbs peacefully to his gunshot wound. Following Eli's burial in Alcatraz's courtyard garden and the addition of a bound Bible to the collection, Solara departs, listening to Eli's iPod while wielding his machete on her journey back to her mother. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.